Welcome to Indiana Basketball Weekly on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host for Indiana Basketball Weekly, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome my two esteemed co-hosts. First up, as he'll tell you, he's got a national championship ring. Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
In about 2 weeks, I'm going to have a Hall of Fame ring too. So we're going to be able to start announcing that too.
Yeah.
So it's on its way.
Me and Collin are waited with bated breath with that. And of course,
the campaign is paid off.
Yeah.
And you're damn right. And wait till you get there, Collin. You think it's easy? You wait till you get there. You know what?
Oh, I got a lot longer road than you did. I don't even have a championship ring.
You got to make the silver anniversary team first, buddy.
Jeez, they must have been a bad 25 years in Indiana basketball. Big Ten champion Collin Hartman. How you doing, Collin? Tim Johnson should be on that before Steve Risley, by the way.
You did what?
Tim Johnson should be on that before you. I bet Kyle Guy will be on it.
Kyle Guy's automatically, and Mr. Basketball's automatically get in, so he's in.
There you go. He doesn't even have to campaign.
He's in.
He's the leading scorer in Lawrence Central history. All right, tonight, Purdue 48, Indiana 46. Since Cole's not here, he's at the press conference. Purdue shot 31.7%.
He may join in. He's going to text me if he can get on, but he's at the press conference trying to see what he can get for us.
27.8%. I don't know. They out-rebounded Purdue 47-38. But to me, I mean, Collin, this was a game played with a lot of energy and a lot of emotion, but not much execution.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, to be completely candid, I'd rather a team play. If I had to choose, especially this team right now, I'm glad to see some fight out of them. I'm glad to see some emotion and guys hustling, diving on the floor. Yeah, we played careless and we turn the ball over and we don't make open shots and stuff like that. But I mean, to be quite candid with you, I'm just glad to see the emotion out of the players and the coaching staff. Coach Miller was losing his mind tonight. From what I could tell where I was sitting, it felt like a different team. Yeah, we didn't score a whole lot, but it felt like a different team. It was a different team to watch. It was more cohesive in the sense that everybody was on the same page that we're going to go balls to the wall and do what we have to do to at least stay in this game and try to win it. So that's
Steve.
In a nutshell.
What's your first impression?
First impression is the energy and the effort was the best we've seen probably since the Marquette game or the Louisville game. The energy, the effort was there, bar none. They played hard. They went after it. And I was on Twitter with a bunch of other IU websites and things talking about. I think there was a point in time, and Collin, you probably saw it live, where I think the ball, there was an entire team block out where the ball, I think, actually hit the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple big blockouts like that.
Yeah, right in a row. There were a couple great, and it tells me that Miller's working them and kind of figuring things out a little bit because it happened twice in a row, and it was kind of a funny story we tweeted on Twitter. Like one of the other websites tweeted, "Hey, there was actually a blockout." I said, "No shit, it was one of the best blockouts they've had all year." And I said, and it was an entire team blockout. My wife looked at me and said, "No shit, good job." As she's watching the game with me. The effort was there. Now, Collin, and I love it, and I think sadly, had we had this effort 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, we probably wouldn't be in the boat we're in. Do you agree there? Because we don't won a lot of games. We didn't win today because Purdue's a damn good basketball club. But if we had this effort and could sustain this effort, we would not be in this boat. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's been our biggest problem to this point, other than the fact that we can't shoot. But, I mean, effort was – and I feel like our shooting kept us in the games, like early on in the season, helped us win big games just because we were making open shots and guys were playing with confidence and it's free-flowing and all that. I think that the only thing that's going to keep us in the game now is our effort because I'm not banking on our shooting abilities. The but the guys played hard tonight. They did the tough things like boxing out and diving on the floor, stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, getting hands on balls and stuff like that, getting those deflections. It just doing the little things that add up as a team. It gives the guys energy, getting blocks. I mean, it's just every little thing that you can do as a team that involves no skill at all, and doing the hustle plays is what's going to keep this team in games from here on out. Whether we, go deep into the Big Ten tournament or make it NIT or whatever it is, the only thing that's going to keep this team together is playing with that energy, because it's infectious. Somebody dives on the floor, somebody takes a charge, somebody gets a block, somebody gets a steal, whatever it is. It's infectious to the bench. It's infectious to the guys on the floor. It builds confidence from the coaches into the players. It's just a domino effect that's going to give this team a chance.
Okay, Mike, I got a question for you. So, Mike, how much the strategy now? Because the effort was there tonight. Was the strategy there tonight? Did we get out coached a little tonight? Yes or no? Or did we get out talented? But the effort was there. We all three agree the effort was there, right?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay,
effort's
so
supposed to be there, so I don't really
between
give
the
a
two
shit
of
about
you,
that. What I saw was this.
Collin, I'll ask you.
Go ahead.
What cost us the game, and Mike, was it strategy?
Well, there was a couple things that cost us the game. We started out the game sloppy.
But so did they. They were no better than us, really. It was a sloppy game to begin with, all the way around, I thought.
What it came down to, the main reason that we lost is because we can't shoot. In my opinion, we just can't. We can't run the high-low just because the big sags in on the post. Klein shot out of his mind at the end. I think we did a good job on Carson Edwards, in my opinion. He took a lot of bad shots.
Yeah,
I don't think we were terrible defensively.
Edwards was 4 for 24. Yeah, Edwards was 4 for 24. We defended him.
Yeah,
he only got 9 points in the game.
Yeah. We did a great job there. I think the offensive rebounds, obviously, at the end killed us. It's just I don't think we played terrible. I just don't think that we have much of an offense.
Okay, so Mike, I'll ask you again. You're a coach. Did we get out coached in this game?
I think both sides got out coached. I thought both teams looked terrible.
Okay.
I thought it was a bad basketball game.
I mean,
I think
I'm not trying to pick a fight.
I think this. I think when I watched the game, to me, Archie looked like he was losing his mind the whole game. I don't know. I didn't sit behind the bench. Was it like that the entire game, Collin?
What?
Was Archie?
That he was losing his mind, yelling and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that dude probably had to switch shirts at halftime. Easy.
Here is the way I take that. Usually, the players will mimic the coach. And if the coach is losing his shit all game, there's got to be a point as a coach where you sit down, shut up, and tell everybody to calm down. I never saw that.
Bingo!
I never saw
Bingo!
that. This is the thing. I can do it like this. The first championship game
He's done that all year, though. He has sat down and been quiet.
Hold on. Listen, wait a second.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm not picking on Archie Miller.
This is my point.
I will vehemently defend Archie Miller.
This is my point.
He got this team. Yeah.
Just shit.
Not an
They
Archie
lost.
Miller.
All right, they lost. Okay, that's the only thing that matters at the end of this is
they lost
the game.
Right.
And you're running out of opportunities to win games to be able to do anything. And my point all along is this. When you look at him, he loses his shit so much that can be infectious to a team. I mean, there's a lot of coaches that lose their shit. Bobby Knight periodically lost his shit when need be. But to me, I think this team has pissed Archie off so much that all he wants anymore is to see the effort. And he got that tonight.
Yeah.
The only problem is this. When you're a team that has given that effort maybe three times all year, I think what Matt Painter said with 7 minutes left in the game was very poetic. And that was this. we'll win this game if we keep playing like this because we always play like this for 40 minutes. They don't.
Right.
And in the end, when you needed the last box out, Purdue willed themselves to win that game. That's the difference. Because let's face it, guys, Purdue's not a top 20 team. Purdue's not a team that's going to have a shot to go to the Final Four. You know, I mean, hell, Marquette would beat Purdue. Louisville would beat Purdue right now. So it's not like, you know, we almost lost to Duke. We got beat by a team that is a little bit better than us, and they're a little bit better than us because they play hard all the time. And I know this, it's hard to all of a sudden be a team that plays hard for 40 minutes. They played hard for 40 minutes. My only problem is this, and I know I'm the first person that's ever said this, but I think McRoberts should have been in the game in the last 5 minutes because when he was in the game, he played with confidence. I mean, he shot the first three this year, I think, where when he caught it and let it go, I knew it was going in because he knew it was going in. And I don't know why we took him out of the game. I think that he was a big spark plug in the first half. You know, Deron Davis was also, because, you know, Deron is the one guy here that won't back down. But McRoberts tonight played the way we'd seen him play in the past years. And I just think that at the end of that game, I'd have rather had McRoberts shoot the ball than anybody if you're going to shoot a three to try to win the game. Because he looked like he was ready to make that shot tonight. Nobody else looked that way. I mean, he looked like he was actually looking for the shot, even when he was missing them. He was playing with confidence, and I don't see that when I see a lot of these other guys shoot the three. So I thought McRoberts should have played should have played more. Outcoached, I don't think either team played like they were coached really well, but both teams played really hard.
Okay, fair assessment. And again, I want to just preface everything. I'm not picking on Archie Miller. I'm just saying I almost feel that this was a night when I'm not sure. I don't know that Archie was expecting the effort that he got out of his team and made the right management changes in himself and his assistants that the team made in their effort. That's kind of was my takeaway because I thought there were points in the second half where we were up by 3, up by 4. And like you said, Mike, you eloquated that Painter said, hey, keep them playing this way because we do this all the time. They don't. Miller, I thought, at that point, I'm like, slow it down. Just slow the ball down and get everything under control. Because I remember a couple plays we ran between maybe Fennessy and Morgan or Langford and Morgan where we did a two-man thing. And, you know, Morgan goes up for the monster dunk. I know everybody saw that one. But we slowed down and got our offense under control and ran that two-man play. And we didn't, you know, we didn't continue to do that. We got into their pace, and that's a great comment about Painter saying, hey, keep them playing at our pace and we'll be fine because they're not used to playing at this pace. And I thought that was a time to me where Miller's seeing the effort, getting it all done, and he needs to just say, okay, we need to change this game. We're at home. Our crowd's in our favor. We need to just slow this game down and take their pace away from us. That was my observation. My question, Colin, is, and even Dockage was alluding to this at the end of the game, that why are we putting Morgan out on a wing when he's such a dominant player inside? And we're not at the end of the game there when we know we can get a foul or 2 points out of him going to the hole because of his athletic skills and his just overall basketball acumen ability. Why are we letting him play out on the wing and not go down on the block and post? What's your thoughts on that, Colin?
Well, they were doubling on the backside the whole game. They had to dribble out. So it's a waste.
So what?
It's a waste of time.
So you have Deron Davis in there. Why don't you just run a two-man game with those two guys and pick and roll, and just play a two-man game underneath. Go a three out, 2 under, two-man game. Put them on the blocks and just screen. Because Davis had a great game. I mean, I thought it's the best I've seen him play all year. I think we all agree on that. But, you know, you don't put Juwan down there with him and just run a two-man game because I don't think they had anything for Juwan under the paint. And he ended up only being, 3 for 13, I see here. but he was getting hammered under there. The guy gets 11 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds. He's busted his butt, but I would have looked at it, and again, hindsight's always 20/20. That's easy to be. I get that, but I would have probably said, I got Duran in sync tonight. I got Juwan, and I'm going to run a 2-man game and make him. We're going to beat him inside, which is where I think is because we're not a strong outside shooting team. 3-point wise, we were 20%. So let's forget that. Let's get inside. We're not going to win this game by out shooting him from the arc. I just say I don't know that the coaching matched the effort tonight because not for failure, just that I'm not sure the coaching was expecting the effort to be there like it was. I think they were hoping, but I don't know if they were expecting it to be there because the effort was phenomenal tonight. Like I said, if Indiana played like this the last 10 games, we would not be worried about being in the dance. Your thoughts, Colin? You want to even comment on it?
It's just every time that we went to the post, they doubled on the backside. We had to dribble out, just swing over and do the same thing again. We throw it in, they doubled again. They doubled every time. It wasn't just like a single one-hit double on the post. They doubled it every single time it went in. And when you have guys like Justin in, that he doesn't even look at the hoop when he's on the three-point line. I don't know why he's on the three-point line, but when you try to run a high-low like that, they just sink in, and the high-low is just completely wasted. It's not non-existent. And so it's literally wasting time off the shot clock.
And
so that's why they try to get the high.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish. I apologize.
Well, that's why they try to get like the high ball screen action or the high handoff action, so then they can roll into the post and keep the movement going from bigs to high to low. So if they have to either A, guard this ball screen, swing it, throw back to the shake, and then hit the post so that big's late on the return, and then they can't even get the double. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for. And it's just I can see what's supposed to be happening, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. Right, and then what you do is when you do that, you double. You run a 2-man low post game, high low, 2-man low, whatever. Then you position Finney and Langford and either Devontae or Durham or whoever. You position them at the 10 to 15 foot mark because you pack down their defense now and brought them inside. Then you start popping the 15 to 20 foot jumpers. And then all of a sudden you create 2 auras of offense, whereas by not taking our strength, which is now we've got Duran playing well, and we have, Juwan, probably one of the best postmen in the Big Ten, and you're not forcing teams to guard us down there. You're allowing them to just stand outside and just neutralize our 15 to 20 foot range jump shooters. But if you pack them down, then they only had Harms. It's really all they had, really, and he was playing great inside. I mean, he was dominating inside. He was making havoc.
He might be the most hated Purdue player of all time.
Well, that's for us or for Purdue.
Not for Purdue.
But IU fans hate him.
I mean, he played a great game tonight. But we allowed him to guard 2 guys or guard the post alone when we had 2 guys effectively playing tonight. That if we had put both of them in there, he couldn't have done what he did because he has to pick and choose who he guarded. And then you slide your perimeter players just inside the arc, give up the 3, don't worry about it. But you get those guys set because Langford's a good 10 to 15 foot jump shooter. Tennessee's a good 10 to 15 shot jump shooter. Durham is, I believe, I think Devontae had a bad game tonight, no doubt. But I still would be confident with him taking. And you create an inside-out game that way by packing them into the paint. We allowed them to spread their defense out because we didn't force them to do anything to challenge them defensively. That's just my observation.
Let me make sure I'm following you. So you want the guy, right? Steve?
Pardon? Good, yeah.
So you want the big guys on the post. And
I want to run a 2-man game. I want him running a 2-man game.
And
I want both guys inside running a
cross screen action.
Cross
Right,
screen,
like a cross screen
high low, cross screen. Yeah, almost like a triangle. You know, it's almost like you put Smith in there. You almost run it almost like a triangle. If you want to, we ran that all the time. We ran triangle all the time, where we put a guy at the high post, two guys on the post, and we just ran a triangle offense, pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll. Go down the screen, move. Keep everybody forcing to play you underneath. And then we had shooters sitting outside that when you do that, when you drop in on our defense, we pummel you from the outside. But we pack it inside the 3-point line because we're not a good 3-point shooting team. So that would be
what you guys were.
Coaching observation. No, this team is right now. Not we were. Well, we didn't have 3-point shot when I played, so it didn't matter. There was no 3-point shot when I played. You know, so it didn't matter what we did. We just packed it in.
Only problem
we set up our shooters at 15-foot range was our mark, right around the free throw arc. We set up our shooters, Whitman, Kitchell on the baseline, Whitman at one post, Isaiah at the other, Jimmy Thomas. But we packed in Tolbert, Turner, myself, whoever was in there, Bushy. We packed those guys in and made them guard our post play. So those guys were just standing there at 15 foot wide open, and we nailed your ass every time. You had no chance because you couldn't beat Tolbert and Turner inside. You know, you could beat me, no doubt, because I didn't have a lot of talent. But we positioned Kitchell on the baseline and slid him back and forth across the baseline, ran him back and forth. Just stay on the baseline. Just get yourself 15 to 20 feet out and get yourself ready. But we based and predicated everything off our post play with Tolbert and Turner. Now, I say tonight, Morgan and Duran were a version of Tolbert and Turner. Were they as good? I don't know. You know, I'm not going to make that claim. I'm not going to pick on choose on that. But to me, that's a coaching move that should have happened and said, here's how we spread out and pack their defense in and get our shooters in position. And it just seems to me when I'm watching Juwan Morgan play the game 22 to 25 feet out, when the talent he has inside, it offensively doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think if you go on Twitter and read all the sites, they'll all say offensively we were a disaster tonight. And that's probably what cost us the game.
Oh, yeah.
We were a disaster offensively because we had no offense, basically. You know, there really was no offense. And I'm thinking if you're a coach, you see that and you strategize that and say, here's what we got to do. Then you have an offensive strategy. Then you make them alter their play. But we let them do what they wanted to do defensively to us. And we only had one guy playing the post, and Harms was having he was having a big night. It's a career night for him. You know, he only scored 6 points in the game, but I mean, they were effective points, and he was a dominant force defensively, messing us up. So I'm just saying that's where I say we're the coaching, where I think we might have been out coached a little bit there. Well, I thought Miller and his crew should have seen that and said, here's what you got to do. But like I said, hindsight's always 20/20. So, but anyway, just my observation.
So, Mike, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What? Don't seem so enthusiastic. Where do you go from here? Like as a coach, if you're a coach, Miller, what's your next steps? What do you do tomorrow? What do you do this week, the rest of this week? I don't even know when our next game is.
I don't either. Steve knows, I'm sure. Steve?
Are you guys pissing on me or something? Yeah, I do know what you do.
I think they're February 20th.
Right now.
We're asking about the next
right
game,
now,
Steve. Jesus.
I'm telling you right now, you pat the
Iowa.
players on the back and say, great effort.
It's at Iowa in 3
you
days.
go reward the player. You tell them, great effort. Now sustain it. But you take your coaching staff inside and say, where did we screw up?
How about this, Steve?
Because they gave us the effort we wanted. They finally gave us the effort.
The thing
and
about
we had
the
this game.
teams,
We had a winnable game.
All right. The thing about
this
the
was a
double
critical
teams,
game for Indiana.
Oh, Jesus. Nobody
Pardon?
knows that. The thing about the double teams is this. Double team pressure is an illusion in basketball. If you're getting double teamed, if you get rid of the ball immediately, I mean, there's no problem. But they didn't. And the other thing is this. When they get double teamed, they would have 3 players 15 to 20 feet away from the basket. If you're getting double teamed, now this is just a guess. I'm a football coach. But I would think that if you spread those 3 guys out 6 to 10 feet away from the basket, that you would render that double team unusable because they wouldn't have enough guys to cover those three.
Are you talking about our defense or their defense?
Jesus. Their defense when they're double teamed. I mean, if we move our shooters closer to the basket and we spread them out so you have to account for them, and, the ball gets out of Morgan's hands immediately, I don't see where it's a problem because I can tell you this. I did coach my youngest son's 5th grade basketball team to a YMCA championship, so I do know a little bit about this, Steve. And sure, we did get a ring. It was one of those rings with a sucker on it. But if you get double teamed, if you get rid of the ball right away, I mean, if you're getting double teamed, there's a guy open, correct?
Yeah, but see, the thing is, and at this league with those big guys with their arms up, they deny the outlet, pass right back out to the guard. They deny the top, and they have one guy splitting the two bottom guys because the double team's not supposed to allow the ball handler, the big, to see the backside where the one guy's guarding two.
Yeah.
And so that's where we got caught with just dribbling out and trying to skip it over. And by that time, they've recovered.
Yeah, but the one thing I didn't see a lot of was any kind of cutting. It just seems like we just hang out on the perimeter. You get an occasional cut, occasional screen, but I don't know. It just, to me, Colin, against a double team, you can't be stagnant. And it just looked to me like it was stagnant.
I agree.
So I don't think there's any way to beat a double team when you're stagnant. I mean, there's too many guys that just stand around. And Purdue tonight did too. I mean, the times Purdue actually ran screens and ran off of them, were the times when they hit the three.
Right.
So, Colin, does Miller run like an offensive scheme, sets, or does he run motion?
Both. I mean, there's like concept for transition and stuff, so we don't have to, call play every time down. There's concepts to flow freely, but we have a lot of sets.
But for the most part, you run. He calls sets. You guys run a lot of sets.
Well, if the defense is set and and we look like Coach Miller is going to look at the team as we're coming down and basically see if they're ready in their mental capacity to flow into some transition offense and just flow and movement, motion, freelance basketball, or if everybody's standing around and then he needs to call a play. And it frustrates him because he doesn't want to have to call a play every time down, but the guys don't get to the right spot. And so that's when end up calling a play.
So I go back to what I think I've brought up the last couple games, and I don't know if the rules changes are there or not. I don't know, but Colin, why are not the assistant coaches coaching the players like, get your ass moving, move, don't stand? I mean, when I was playing, again, I said this for the last probably 3 shows we've done. There were assistant coaches that were ripping on me the whole time, like, Risley, you're standing, get moving, Risley, go screen, and they would force you into motion and get you doing things and not let you just sit there and stand. I mean, is that just not allowed in the game anymore, or is it just not an inherent trait of this coaching staff?
Well, they have it divided up. I mean, they have coaches with players.
Okay. Well, I watched that. I observed that. I pay attention to that more than I do anything because my last days of basketball have been as a coach, not a player. So I like to see how guys are coaching, and I know how well we were coached at Indiana, and I don't see a lot of direction from the assistant coaches toward the very problem you said we have about getting stagnant and standing around.
Right.
I'm just telling you, in my era, my day, there would have been coaches on my ass, or my ass would have been on the bench if I was just standing around. Somebody would have been yelling at me, go screen, don't stand, spacing. They'd be saying, get your space. You're too close, Risley, back off. Go to the post, Risley, get your ass inside. In the meantime, Miller or Knight would have been coaching the game, which is what they should be doing. And I just don't see a lot of that going on. And, I don't see it. And I watch it. I look at that as much as the TV will allow me to. I watch that more than I do anything.
Well, all right. Next up, they go to Iowa. I think it's in 3 or 4 days. Saturday. I think we could definitely say that can't afford to lose this one. They've got to win this game at Iowa.
I'm not sure it matters anymore at this point.
It always matters,
Yeah.
Steve. There's always a chance.
I know it always matters, but
it's not like there's a bunch of great teams in the Big Ten. We could still win
Hey,
the Big Ten tournament and get in.
You're right, and that would be about okay. Yeah, and sorry, I'm not going to be negative to any, but our good friend Brian Rao just pretty much put out a tweet about 30 minutes ago that said Indiana's done.
Okay, you know what? Nobody cares what Brian Ralph thinks, anyways. And you can't even get his name right yet. It's Brian Ralph.
I'm going to remind him you said that on Friday.
You can remind him. Nobody cares what Brian Ralph says. He's down there on Tobacco Road with those teams that pay for their players. Our 13 wins at least weren't paid for.
So, how many? Okay, and this is something that keeps coming up. Before we go, we have how many quadrant one wins? Because I said 3. Somebody fired back to me on Twitter tonight that we have 5.
Huh? No.
Is Butler 3. A quadrant one team?
No.
One team
Butler's
right now?
not even in the tournament. If it was to start today.
Okay, all right.
We've got 3 quadrant one
we
wins, but the big killer is we've lost 11 out of 12, which everybody ignores. I think the only way this team could possibly get in right now is to go 17-14. You would get a couple more wins against top 25 teams. You probably have to win 2 games in the Big Ten tournament. At 19-15, with 4 or 5 quadrant one wins, they can get in. But as of right now, this is what I want to see. We saw against Michigan State the same effort we saw tonight, only they shot the ball better. After Michigan State, we didn't see that effort again. So to me, Archie is having an impact, and this is going the right way if we see the same effort in Iowa. And I hate to say that because effort is something that, number one, you shouldn't have to coach, that you should do all the time. But I think the next game against Iowa, this team's probably not going to the NCAA tournament. And the point is, this needs to build because all 3 of us have said this is a building process. If you could get this effort the rest of the season and win a few games, I think it bodes well for next year. Now, if it reverts back, then I think we could have a problem, Colin.
Yeah. I mean, I think that however this season ends, I think that Coach Miller's mindset going into the off season and everything like that in the summer is going to be, I think it'll be different. I think his approach will be different. I think you'll see a lot more of what you saw tonight with if you don't bring it, he is going to. And hopefully we can stay healthy enough to where he can sit guys if they don't.
How about
so,
this?
I mean,
let me ask you this real quick, Colin. He came from Dayton. He was very successful there. He comes here. He gets a Romeo Langford, a Juwan Morgan. Do you think maybe he coached differently with more talent and is just now realizing that you have to coach everybody pretty much the same way?
I don't know. It's an interesting concept.
I'm not saying it's true. I'm just wondering if you're going from a place like Dayton where you're not getting McDonald's All-Americans, you don't have a roster with a Juwan Morgan or a Deron Davis. When you come, do you just kind of expect that, man, I shouldn't have to coach that here because they're better players? Because there are guys that are better coaches with less talent than they are with a lot of talent. I mean, Bob Knight hated Dale Brown because Dale Brown was not a great coach. But when you gave Dale Brown less talent, like his 1986 team that upsets Kentucky and goes to the Final Four, he's a great coach. When you give him McDonald's All-Americans like Shaquille O'Neal, he's losing in the second round with Matt Nover guarding him. So I think there's guys that are better coaching less talent. I'm not saying he's that either because I don't think he is. But what I'm saying is, I mean, maybe there's just a bigger learning curve because it could be self-imposed even in your head that, you know, I've got Juwan Morgan, Romeo Langford. These guys should know this stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe he just expects it from the guys I mean, you're at Indiana University. You're at, one of the most storied programs in the history of college basketball. And maybe, I mean, like you just said, I'll just reiterate, maybe he just expects guys to come in and play hard.
Because I can tell you this, the first team I coached was a professional team. I expected that. And before you know it, I'm sitting at 2-3. And then I realized you can't do that. And then once you start busting their ass, we win 7 straight games and we make it to the playoffs. So, I mean, really, it could. I doubt that has anything to do with it. I just think it's something interesting to consider.
Yeah.
So, I know Steve will think I'm full of shit, but that's all right. I think Steve.
Well, I do. I hope to God that what you just said is not true, that Archie Miller doesn't think that he needs to coach his team because he thinks because they're Indiana, they're talented.
Once again, I never said
I
it
pray
was
to God
true.
that what
What
you
I'm
just
saying
said
is,
is
well, I
so
pray to
not
God
true.
that someday you become considerate of others when they're speaking.
We get on a personal attack again. We get back on a personal attack. There
Well,
we go.
you did
See,
personally
whatever. Okay.
interrupt me like
You know what?
5
I'm done.
times tonight.
Fuck both of you. I'm done. Wrap up the show. I'm tired of being personally attacked when I'm trying to give my opinion. When I fucking forgot more about this game than either one of you two know. So you all go ahead. Wrap up the show.
All right, Colin, do you have any closing comments?
No, man, I do not.
All right, and Steve, I assume you don't?
No, I'm done.
Okay, Steve's done. All right, guys, we're going to wrap the show up tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Come back, check out Indiana Basketball Weekly Edition with Ted Kitchell, who was an integral part on the 1981 Indiana Hoosiers with Steve Risley. But until that time, we will also check you out tomorrow on Survive in Advance, where we have the president of the Orlando Apollos from the AAF, the new Professional Football League, Michael Waddell, on the show. Thursday, we'll have Evelyn Magley, who is the wife of Dave Magley. She is the CEO, commissioner of the Basketball League, so make sure you come back and check that out. And then Brian Ralph will be on Friday, and we'll give him a hard time about saying that Indiana's done, even though he's right. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. You can check all of our shows out on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Collin Hartman and Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.